Dutra likes to make its case that this is a state-of-the-art asphalt plant and everything is contained. It's just, it's kind of like you know, something that you could put next to a school nursery or next to a hospital, and you'd never even notice it was there. Unfortunately, that is not the case. This is heavy manufacturing. It's heavy manufacturing with toxic chemicals, with inflammable chemicals, with explosive chemicals, with heavy truck traffic, with a lot of smells, noise, and light pollution that comes with it. This is not your local manufacturing in the backyard. This is heavy manufacturing. And obviously we all need asphalt and we all use asphalt, and heavy manufacturing is an important part of our economy. So in trying to convince me that this was a good plant, and in fact was a state-of-the-art plant and could be located right across the river from Schellenberger Park, Amy Dutra and her project manager took myself and a couple other people down to look at what they considered to be the state-of-the-art asphalt plant that they were going to model this one on, located in Irvine, California. So they flew us down. It was very congenial. We had a very nice tour with the plant owner, plant manager. It's not a plant that was operated or owned or has any financial relationship to Dutra. We spent a few hours on site looking at the entire operations. And one of the things that was apparent as Amy Dutra, myself, one of the other people, and her project manager opened the door of the rental car 175 feet away from this plant. We opened the doors and the stench of asphalt immediately pervaded the car. At which point Amy exclaimed, "What's that? That's not supposed to happen." And so their state-of-the-art model that they would have used as their model for this plant had I and 3 other people not gotten down there and actually experienced it, this is what they would have gotten past the Board of Supervisors, and this is what we would have had to live with. It leaked because asphalt plants in themselves are incapable of not smelling. You have a loading area where the hot asphalt is dropped into the trucks. In this case, the loading area is in a tunnel, trying to contain some of that blue smoke, the polycyclic aromatic hydrocarbons, which are carcinogenic on contact with skin, no less if breathed. So they've built enclosed tunnels for loading, but the trucks push through the tunnel and push the air out the other end, and when the truck's not in it, the breeze, in this case a 3 to 5 mile-an-hour breeze, was moving any residual blue smoke out the other end. And that's what we were experiencing. Even if, as Amy Dutra claims and the manufacturer of their equipment claimed, they were going to have doors that open and close and prevent that from happening, the trucks coming out loaded with hot asphalt are not tarped. And so between wherever they drive out of the tunnel where they're loaded with this fresh load of asphalt, 22 tons of asphalt, emitting large clouds of blue smoke, that blue smoke follows them down the road. And there are pictures online, there are videos online of what that looks like, what it smells like. Everybody who's been near hot asphalt knows what it smells like. That's carcinogenic. So the claim is, well, we're going to tarp the trucks, but you're not going to tarp it in the tunnel because the driver, who's already exposed to these smells and this carcinogenic smoke inside the tunnel, is not going to get out inside the tunnel, put a tarp on, and then drive out. No, the truck is going to go out to some place where the truck can park by the side of the road, and if we're lucky, they'll tarp. In the site in Irvine, and this is the South Coast Air District, one of the most strict in the state, there was still a trail of blue smoke going down the county road. And when you think about going down the county road, this site was 2 miles from any developments. It was the back of a canyon. So Orange County recognized that you don't want to put an asphalt plant anywhere near their population, anywhere near their schools, their hospitals, anywhere near their playfields, anywhere near their parks, and the site is in fact at the back of a canyon 2 miles away from anything happening in development. So that's just one aspect of what Dutra says versus the reality. And of course, since we took that trip and since I was willing to say in public describing my experiences at that plant. All of a sudden that plant became outdated. No longer was it being touted as state-of-the-art. Now they're going to do better, so now we have a new state-of-the-art plant, whatever it is, because the project morphs almost weekly. We don't really know what it is they're proposing, but if you want to put a state-of-the-art asphalt plant next to your kindergarten, I don't think it's a good idea. If you want to put it next to your park, not a good idea. Put it someplace that when there are accidents, when there are its normal operation, much as with the BP spill in the Gulf, when accidents happen, you don't want them near any place that's going to be damaged, no less made unhealthy and unworkable and unlivable for many, many years to come.
Hi, my name is Pamela Torliette, and I'm the mayor of the city of Petaluma. I'm here today to talk to you about the proposal that Dutra has brought to the County of Sonoma to place an asphalt plant at the gateway to Sonoma County and at the entrance of the city of Petaluma. I'm very concerned about the proposal, and I'm concerned about the proposal for a variety of reasons. I want to let you know my experience as being the mayor for the last 4 years, being on the city council for 10 years, and being on the Petaluma Planning Commission for 4 years before that has given me an extensive experience looking at general plans, at zoning ordinances, and really listening to the public and what it is that their vision is for this county. The Dutra asphalt plant proposal is requesting that the County of Sonoma amend 4 planning documents that have been adopted by the county. They're asking for a general plan amendment, they're asking for a zoning amendment, they're asking for a scenic corridor amendment, and they're also asking for a dairy area plan amendment. It seems to me when we are looking at a vision for Sonoma County, and the community has put so much time and energy into these documents, they're not ones to take lightly to change. And that's why I think that this proposal is one that really is not matching what the vision is for Sonoma County and for our community in the city of Petaluma, as well as focusing on the #1 industry that we have here in Sonoma County, which is tourism. Tourism is over $1 billion industry and the #1 industry in Sonoma County. If we are going to place an asphalt facility with 2 62-foot asphalt emission stacks at the gateway to where we're trying to bring people to our area to enjoy wine, to enjoy our environment and the enhanced wetlands that we have focused on restoring here in the city of Petaluma and in the county area, where we're trying to promote our agricultural interests, our dairies, our manufacturing facilities, our processing facilities for really good, healthy foods and ones that we want everyone to enjoy. I don't think that this is truly the vision and the picture that we're looking for here in our area. So I urge you to get more involved with SaveSchollenberger.com and really get educated on who's on the Board of Supervisors and how you can help influence positive decisions here in Sonoma County. I thank you for your time.
In a lot of commercial places, PRBO, Camelback, a number of businesses have located specifically at the front door of Schollenberger because it is the northern tip of the Petaluma Marsh, which is the largest remaining relatively unimpacted high elevation salt marsh on the lower 48. It's a remarkable national gem.
The Dutra asphalt plant is one of the most interesting controversies that I've seen come to Sonoma County in the time that I've been involved in politics. There's been a lot of, I think, miscommunication about what the project benefits or liabilities would be. There's been talk about we need jobs, and I agree with that. We do need jobs here in Sonoma County, but when you really analyze the Dutra project, you wonder if it's a net gain of jobs or if it's simply about making jobs for special interests. We know for a fact that people come all the way from England to enjoy what's called the twitching experience at Schollenberger Park, and this is vital to our economy. tourism is the #1 industry in Sonoma County, and we're at the gateway of that tourism and that minefield of opportunity that we've just begun to enjoy in Sonoma County. In fact, the general plan for Petaluma as well as the county itself, both recently unanimously adopted, one by the Board of Supervisors and the other by a past Petaluma City Council, but both embrace this vision that at the gateway and entryway to Sonoma County, it should be a positive statement about the first experience that people have when they come to our beautiful area. And it's also the last remembrance that they'll take home with them. And so if tourism is your #1 economic engine, and it is here in Sonoma County, then it's logical that you want that gateway to be an entryway that people will remember in a positive manner. And I just don't think that 2 big towers with an asphalt plant is the memory and the branding that we want for Petaluma or Sonoma County.
We need the other side of the balance sheet if we're going to talk about jobs and the economic impact. There is no sales tax, no property tax will go to the city of Petaluma. This is entirely within the county.
Right now, the city of Petaluma is engaged in a program to try to promote tourism to the wetlands, especially Schollenberger Park as its keystone. There are over 1 million birders in California. Birders nationally spend $38 billion a year on their hobby. We would like to get some of those people to visit our wetlands, which we believe are beautiful and unique, and come here and spend money in hotels, restaurants, and help the local economy.
I'm here as a representative of Friends of Schollenberger Park and Clean Air. I've had the privilege to talk to hundreds of our citizens over the last week. And I can say we've been gathering signatures on a petition that states simply, we urge the Sonoma County supervisors to vote no on the Dutra plant as proposed.
My name is Alan Pendley. I'm a chemist, and I was asked by the Friends of Schollenberger Park to speak on behalf of Schollenberger Park and the people who use it. If I had to characterize this whole project, this is a win-lose project. Dutra wins, Petaluma loses. Schollenberger Park loses.
Haystack Landing is a California state registered historic landmark. It used to be a site where the Miwok Indians used to be, and also it was one of the first places that Sonoma County people settled and came from the south area. I think this area needs to be remembered and restored for future generations, not destroyed and covered with an asphalt plant.
Well, welcome to Schollenberger. We have a unique, beautiful treasure here in Schollenberger Park. And on the other side of it is Almond Marsh, which goes to the marina. At the far end of Schollenberger, we have Ellis Creek, which goes clear down to that tall row of eucalyptus trees. Altogether, over 500 acres of public wetlands, which is really unusual for a small town like ours. And we do 2 things with the wetlands. We do an engineering function, which is, this behind me is a dredge spoil site, and the Ellis Creek site has our new wastewater treatment plant. But our other big function is to provide space for a wildlife sanctuary. So we have many, many species of animals that live here. 200 species of birds have been seen here. We have lots of reptiles, we have lots of insects, 130 some odd species of plants. So it really is a biological treasure. And we use that actually to teach people about wetlands, particularly 3rd graders. We have a program for every 3rd grade in the watershed. We do adult programs on weekends. But one of the things that has galled me in particular is the fact that we have been talking to the Dutra Corporation for over 4 years about how ill-advised it is to build an asphalt factory right over there on the other side of the river, which just happens to be upwind, so the prevailing winds are going to bring all their toxins into Schollenberger Park. After many, many go-arounds with the Planning Commission and the supervisors, we find that Dutra still doesn't get it, and there's some people on the county government that still don't get it. And so we have made enough damage on their plans, that they have revised them time after time. The last time I looked, there was 150 or 60 some odd revisions, and it's still changing as I speak. We put about 800 or 900 kids a year through our program here. We're constantly expanding. On a good day, on the weekend, for example, we will have 550 people out here in this park. Weekdays is probably down to 300 and something. So these people shouldn't be exposed to all these toxins and the potential danger of an accident just across the river. It's not fair to us. We are slowly winning this race with the supervisors. There's 5 supervisors, 3 have to approve the project. 2 now are against the project. 2 are for it, and 1 is waffling in the middle, Mr. Carrillo. So we still hope to win this battle. If we don't win the battle in the supervisor's chamber, we will win it in a court of law. For the public to recognize that this is a long, arduous battle, as I said, going on for 4 years, and we're still struggling. But we will prevail because we have the right on our side.
The issue is that Schollenberger Park is the subject of a science experiment. Schollenberger Park gets to receive all kinds of polyaromatic hydrocarbons, all kinds of nitrous oxides and hydrogen sulfide pollutants blowing across it. We invited those birds when we built the berms that we all walk around. Here's this big puddle of water, here's all this food. We said, come on down, and they came on down. And you know, what a sick thing to do when they're nesting and laying their eggs, and we're all enjoying it as we walk around. We're blowing toxics over these creatures that are having their babies there. Not to mention the pregnant mothers.
When we do the in-field activities, the first thing we do after the children arrive, we get them in a circle with the teacher and the parents and the docents. And the docent of the day tells the kids what they are expected to do out here, what activities will be done. And it takes about 3 hours. The teachers love it, the parents love it, the kids love it, and we love it.
Congressman Woolsey, Senator Leno, I really appreciate your being here and holding this forum. I'm David Keller, Petaluma River Council, former Petaluma Council member. From the sounds of the presentations by Dutra and their consulting team, this is a great project. I want it. I want it near me. I want it near a new park, an old industrial area that's being redeveloped, a waterfront, a new marsh with new wildlife that has turned out to be very popular, with residences and businesses adjacent to it. I want it next to Chrissy Field. Because that's what we're talking about. This is the wrong plant in the wrong place.
Hi, I'm Bonnie Marmer. I am a neighbor of the quarry in San Rafael. I have lived in the area for about 12 years. When the Dutras came in, things changed. First of all, the Dutras decided, instead of closing down the quarry, to expand the operations. And the prior owners had said they were going to close down. So a number of homes were built in close proximity to the quarry that were purchased by people with the expectation that the quarry was going to close. And instead, the quarry expanded. And the quarry expanded beyond the permit that they had as a non-conforming use. So they expanded unlawfully, and the tension between the residents and the quarry led to a lawsuit. And the court ruled that yes, they had gone beyond what they were supposed to do, and they were told to stop doing that. The court found a number of violations. The quarry has continued to be found in violation of lots of different regulations, air regulations, you name it. They have not been good neighbors. The long, torturous process of getting an EIR done, in this case, resulted in a finding that there is an incompatible use here. It's just totally incompatible. It can't be mitigated. Hello, of course, it's now in a residential area that has grown up around it, but this industrial open strip mine and open pit that's being blasted on a regular basis is just simply not compatible. There's the blasting, and there's the dust that spreads from the blast, the dust that spreads from the trucks, and the trucks that are overloaded with huge boulders, and we have 250, 25-ton truck trips a day after day, relentlessly. It's dangerous in terms of the toxins. We have a toxic mess. Not only do we have an asphalt plant at the quarry, but we have silica dust that is respirable, getting into the lungs of the residents. It's particularly dangerous to the children and the elderly. And we also know that the history of the Dutra businesses, whether it's Dutra dredging, Dutra construction, Dutra materials, Dutra's rock quarry, have violations of every type. Dredging violations, not minor ones, but repeated dozens of dredging violations. They also got caught with an even worse situation in the Biscayne Bay fiasco a decade ago in Florida, where they were reported by the newspaper to have caused $40 million in damage. And they settled that case. Their insurance company paid off something like $20 million. Lucky for the Dutras, they got paid for work they never completed, and then they declared bankruptcy. So they have not been good business people. They have not been good neighbors. They have not been good in protecting our environment. Given the tremendous power that this company has, and he has a history of making big political contributions, he seems to have a lot of political clout. We don't expect the quarry to be closing anytime soon. This is a company that we, as neighbors, don't trust to take care of their property and reclaim it. They've let the marshes on their land deteriorate, and we're hoping that with some time it will be brought back to life, and someday that land will be restored somehow, but it could end up as a toxic mess that the people of Marin are going to have to clean up.
There are jobs to be had in the South McDowell district. Jobs that are imperiled by this project. I know specifically of a landlord who is trying to rent an empty building to a school, and he couldn't rent it because the school was concerned about the emissions from the impending asphalt plant.
My name is Sherry Klabowski. I'm the president of Moms for Clean Air. And these are the rest of some of our board members: Okita Gas, Heidi Rhymes, Julie Luna, Maurice Kat Canto, Wendy Long, and Christy Minnick. And we're just here to talk tonight about how we got involved in this opposition to the asphalt plant project on the outskirts of town in the Sonoma County area. I think we mostly got involved. We're all moms, and we were in the Petaluma Mothers Club, and we saw a message on a topic board that told us about the project, and we went to City Council to hear one of the council meetings over a year and a half ago, and have been doing research and educating ourselves, and have all decided for ourselves that we don't think this is a good idea for our community. And I think being moms, the biggest concerns for us had to do with our children and the air quality and the soil quality and the water quality and the economic fall that we may feel from something at the gateway to the county. So those are our issues. I live relatively close. I'm within about a mile, and it just really concerned me about raising children so close, and that's originally why I got involved.
And schools? Yeah,
right.
The schools. Well, Sophia's school, my daughter's school, is within 1 mile of where the asphalt plant would be. And there are actually 4 schools that would be within a 1 mile radius, and 26 schools within a 2 mile radius, and 46 schools within a 4 mile radius. So we just thought that was too many children, too close to all that air pollution.
Schellenberger Park does have an educational program with the children. Many of the kids, it's a field trip. It's part of their educational programs to actually go to the park.
How many children? 10,000 a year, right? Isn't that
1,200.
1,200, sorry, 1,200 a year.
Yeah, and then you have Cypress and River Montessori, which are right there, and they bring the kids out to the park every single day. Every single day they're teaching the kids about environmental education, stewardship, ecology, how to preserve our natural ecosystem, how to take care of wildlife habitat, how to take care of basically Mother Earth. How is that going to look to them, you know, when there's an asphalt plant spewing toxic emissions right over what they're supposed to be learning about? That is...
And the noise level.
Yeah.
The noise is something I know the docents at the Schellenberger Park are very concerned about as far as the educational programs there. But I think for me, once I learned naively, I wasn't aware of just even the freeway being so close. My home is so close to the freeway. And I had no idea about how the pollution from the freeway can affect my family long term, could affect me while I was pregnant. And I was pregnant with all 3 of my children in this house, in this location. And to find out that they're not really taking the pollution that's already present
into account
with what the asphalt project will emit, tying it together and showing what the cumulative effects will be. It's doing research and listening to some of the chemists and listening to some of the doctors and the research that I've read and that we've dug through and read through. I'm really concerned that I can't take a risk with the odds and just hope that my children don't come down with something, whether it's something like asthma now or cancer in 20 years or even 40 years, because I stayed here and exposed them to something in the air. So it's very concerning for me, the long-term benefits, the short-term benefits.
Yeah. In other communities that have an asphalt plant, it can really drive down the house values by 56%.
Thank you. I was looking for
the number. How many people know, have friends that have moved here in the past like 3 or 4 years, and you know, they've said, you know, I would not have moved there if there were an asphalt plant in the town.
Exactly. Realizing that so many businesses have come to the Schellenberger Park area.
Green businesses.
And then to learn that, you know, or to realize that people stop here to eat, to gas, to go to hotels, to stay. And of course you're not going to stop where you think it's an industrial area. You're going to wait and stop where you see restaurants and hotels and gas stations. You're not going to stop at an industrial asphalt plant.
Yeah, with 2 huge storage silos just right there at the gateway, greeting everybody that comes into not only Petaluma but Sonoma County. That is the very first thing you will see when you enter Sonoma County, are these 2 huge, what are they, 62-foot silos. That is just unbelievable, and it's right there. Really, the county needs to say, not here, you know? I mean, other counties have found that they've formed steering committees to look at where to site these types of facilities, and the steering committees had said, do not site these facilities in floodplains, near rivers, near parks, near communities. This is not where Petaluma is going. Look at all that we have here. We have Petaluma Bounty. Right, we have Petaluma Bounty, Daily Acts, I Walk, I Grow. All these amazing organizations that really want to promote sustainable living, and
all these organic farms.
All these organic farms. We have Green String and Anderson's.
All the businesses that are building on the river.
Yeah, all the agro-business, ecotourism and everything. You know, Petaluma is the hub of this. Michael Pollan came here, Joel Salatin came here, we have Terra Firma Farms, we have all these amazing places that people just, you know, gravitate to Petaluma for.
That are putting us on the map.
How is an asphalt plant consistent with that vision?
It's completely...
Well,
for one, it's inconsistent with the Sonoma County General Plan.
Right, I know.
Not only is it inconsistent with our general plan, but it's inconsistent with the Sonoma County General Plan. And the Dutra Group knew when they bought that property that it was commercial. It was not zoned industrial. So I think it's time that the county understands that the communities really don't want this, and that they go ahead and just say,
not here.
Not here.
Right.
Not here. Try again.
Right.
You know, asphalt plants do have the potential to release hydrogen sulfide, which really, really, really stinks. I mean, that is that rotten egg odor. And actually, the Air Quality Management District has new rules that haven't been approved yet that recommend not siting asphalt plants within 2 miles
Right.
of communities and parks.
And how far
Hello,
would this
yeah, and you know, just because these regulations haven't been approved yet, does that mean we, you know, don't
That's
need
what
to
I don't
consider
get.
them?
Why are we
you
going
know?
backwards and trying to
Yeah.
rush this
Right.
project?
Rush this.
If you see safeguards coming down the pipe,
Right, you
got to rise to the occasion. You got to step up and be a leader in this forefront.
Wouldn't any company or any county that, you know, really cares about the public health and do their due diligence and say, look, this is coming. You know, we should give our public and our people the very best. These new regulations need to be accounted for, you know. Why should they just slip in?
Well, I think what's important is that we continue to educate ourselves and educate others, and continue to work hard to get the supervisors and other people to understand that this is inappropriate, and to make sure people know that we're not hysterical women, we're not hysterical mothers that don't know what we're talking about, that we're trying hard to educate ourselves and trying hard to be honest and informative, fact-finding, fact-gathering, and that we really, really believe for the community as a whole that this is just not the right place for such a use. If anyone wants more information or wants to be on our email list, momsforcleanair.net, www.momsforcleanair.net. If you want information, go to our website, email us, let us know you want to be on the email list, and we'll keep
send you
informed.
updates, and you can find out how to help there. And yeah, the single biggest thing a person could do is to write to the county supervisors. You have a voice. Every single person here has a voice. Use it. Yeah, we do.
By locating it upwind of Schollenberger Park, where the prevailing winds, we all know, blow from the west to the east. So the majority of what comes out of that plant is going to be blowing straight over Schollenberger Park. Well, it's already been stated that NOx emissions are going to be above recommended levels. What is NOx? NOx is mixed nitric oxides. What happens when NOx emissions mix with fog that we have about every 3 days? You get nitric acid, and that's what you get to breathe. Okay? NOx isn't just an acronym. It means acid rain and acid fog, and that's what we get to breathe.
Hola, mi nombre es Israel Escudero y una de las razones por las cuales estoy aquí es porque quiero manifestar mi preocupación, mi más sincera preocupación a toda la comunidad latina para que sean conscientes de lo que está pasando aquí en la ciudad de Petaluma. Aparentemente hay una propuesta de poner una empresa de asfalto, la cual va a generar asfalto las 24 horas del día, los 7 días a la semana aquí en Petaluma. Las consecuencias serían muchas, pero las más importantes es que nuestra fauna y nuestra flora podrían desaparecer del área, podrían contaminar el río que tenemos tan bello aquí de Petaluma, pero sobre todo personalmente a mí me afectaría por el asma que tengo realmente, y no nada más el asma, pero también sufro de alergias al polen que cada año nos trae el clima realmente. Les invito realmente a que participen y a que apoyen realmente esta causa tan noble que hacemos con la naturaleza que tenemos aquí en Petaluma para cuidarla y sobre todo hacerles la invitación a que esta pequeña ciudad no se convierta en lo que es una ciudad de México que es pequeña. Efraín, te invito a que consideres tu propuesta, ya que tú muy bien sabes realmente, tú vienes de la Ciudad de México y tú muy bien sabes lo que es tener polución en el aire. Gracias.
David Keller is with us now, and it's a pleasure to have David with us, and former Petaluma City Council member and longtime community volunteer and activist in a number of organizations. And David, thank you for joining us.
It's my pleasure. Thank you for having me on.
It's interesting to see that we're now approaching the 3rd year of the community coming together in this situation with an asphalt plant proposed to the gateway to Petaluma. And my recollection is it all really started as far as the community push in December of 2008. So it's amazing how time flies, isn't it?
Yeah, it actually even started before that. There were people from the community who were commenting on the draft environmental review at the County Planning Commissioner in the spring and summer of '08, and we of course got no response from the Planning Commission that was meaningful, and they were willing to write off Schollenberger Park, write off Petaluma Marsh, Petaluma River, and the city of Petaluma. So unfortunately, in their unresponsiveness, we felt it was necessary to pick up the game.
It's interesting because you say unresponsiveness. I attended one meeting where I thought that never were truer words spoken. A gentleman that was directing the Planning Commission meeting that night, he had mentioned to confine your remarks to the public in regular comment to a very narrow area, and said otherwise if you go off outside of those parameters it's like speaking to the wall. And never did I think truer words were spoken, because what I observed out of those meetings, when you go to the County Planning Commission, it really is like talking to a wall instead of people that are vetting issues on behalf of the community.
And in addition, there had been no, and frankly, to this date, the county held no public meetings in Petaluma, either at the city council or otherwise, on this entire project proposal during the entire 6-year period during which it was under consideration by the county. Not once did our former county supervisor or planning staff think it was necessary on an issue that could be this controversial, and planning staff knew was potentially controversial. Never once was a meeting scheduled for the public in Petaluma. It was up to Jared Huffman, Mark Leno, and Lynn Woolsey to hold that public meeting.
I can remember that where there was the public hearing, and what really crested in public outrage, and then comments by former Supervisor Kearns that his take on it was about 50-50 on the asphalt plant. I'll admit there's some proponents for the asphalt plant, but I don't know where Kearns learned to count, because I got bombarded with emails and they were nowhere near 50-50.
Right, and so a number of us who were getting no responsiveness from planning staff or from the Planning Commission at the county level, this came up for final approval at the Board of Supervisors in December 08. Yeah, that's a while ago. Fortunately, we had some folks who were willing to step up and help us hire some really good attorneys who have been the attorneys since then on the case, to let the county know that the community took this seriously, even though they weren't. And so we submitted substantial comments on the public hearing on the draft in December 08, and it's been ongoing ever since. The county, with the exception of Supervisor Zane and with the exception of Supervisor Valerie Brown, nobody on the Board of Supervisors took the city of Petaluma and its community seriously.
When they talk about this proposal, Don Bennett was the planning commissioner on this particular project, and he wrote one time, if I remember right, in the Argus Courier, and I'm going off recollection, that he didn't recuse himself from a vote because everybody already knew how he felt. So he didn't feel like he was biased because everybody already knew how he felt, or words to that effect. And this was a second go-around, if I remember right, but it was a lot of mitigations ago, because this project that supposedly had been so well vetted by this review body has had how many additional mitigations added into it from the time that it was originally proposed, and the what I'll call propaganda, in my opinion, by the local media said that this was state-of-the-art vetted facility. Well, it's a lot more vetted now and probably has a ways to go yet before it really satisfies a lot of folks. But if it were to be approved now, how different would it be if the judge says this is okay in its current form? How different would it be from what they originally proposed to approve when the real propaganda push on this community was perpetrated and the project was presented? Do you recall?
It's quite different from what it started with. In fact, it's one of our core contentions in the lawsuit with the county is that the current project is unrecognizable from what was proposed by Dutra in their original filings in the draft EIR and what was purported to have been a final EIR a year and a half ago. the actual project, instead of having barge landings on Dutra's property, is shifted over to Shamrock's property. Instead of having that delivered by conveyor belt from their own landing on Dutra's property, it's now 3 years of truck traffic from Shamrock to Dutra's site, and then theoretically a conveyor belt over Shamrock's marshlands. The project originally proposed putting barges in the navigable waterway and then trying to hide that from both the county and the Coast Guard. And when those lies were uncovered, the Coast Guard said, well, no, you can't do that. That's a navigational hazard. We also uncovered that they plan to put their barge landing facility directly over twin 12-inch high-pressure PG&E gas pipeline.
Let's talk about the marshes, because there's so much that goes into a wetlands makeup. And when we look at Katrina and we see what has happened with Katrina, the surge and the importance of the wetlands area and how it protects coastal areas and whatnot, this is a special area, isn't it?
It is quite so, and I'd like to actually step back a little bit and really give a little perspective on why this area is important and how it functions. The Petaluma Marsh, at about a remaining 6,000 acres, of which over 4,000 acres are publicly owned, is the largest remaining high elevation, meaning intertidal salt marsh, left intact on the west coast of the continental U.S., outside of Alaska. So it's actually a national treasure. All the rest have been cut up, been diked, been drained, been filled, and the Petaluma Marsh, which is adjacent to San Pablo Bay, adjacent to the San Pablo Bay National Wildlife Refuge area, is in fact a national treasure. Over the past 150 years, close to 50% of it has been diked and filled for farmlands and for urban development. And certainly San Francisco Bay in entirety has lost over 90% of its margin wetlands. And in the 1960s, 1970s, there was a tremendous movement to reverse that trend, that the wetlands around San Francisco Bay, San Pablo Bay, are not just dumping grounds to be filled and built on, but in fact, we're not only a national treasure from an ecological and environmental and habitat standpoint, but we're really important in terms of water quality, in terms of tourism, in terms of safety on flooding issues. One of the things that the Petaluma Marsh does is it allows the Petaluma River to spread out. The Petaluma River only drops about 14 feet from downtown Petaluma to San Pablo Bay, over 14 miles. Floodwaters that come into Petaluma Valley have to disperse. And we've been fortunate to be at the top of that marshland. So the floodwaters have a huge area to disperse rather than being channelized all the way down to San Francisco Bay. In addition to which, the trend over the past 40 or 50 years has been to restore these wetlands to full functioning, to tidal action, as habitat, as the best breeding grounds for thousands, literally thousands of species of invertebrates and vertebrates, without which we wouldn't have the wealth of wildlife, not only for our viewing and enjoyment pleasure, but also for the economic wealth of this area as a breeding grounds for fisheries, for wildlife. They're invaluable. They're absolutely necessary part of the environmental chain for that wildlife. The trend in the past 50 years has been for restoration and protection. At the north end of San Pablo Bay, at the north end of the Petaluma Marsh, the tendency had been for 140 years, 150 years, fill it in, it's wasteland, let's go put garbage dumps on it, let's build industrial sites on it. And while we certainly recognize the value and necessity for industrial activity that is connected to the river, there is no reason to reverse the trend, to put an asphalt plant not only on the edge of the river, in former marshlands, in existing marshlands, but opposite Schollenberger Park, which is Petaluma's most commonly, most frequently used park, with over 100,000 users per year. Families, athletes, bird watchers, tourists, folks who are just out there for a great walk around the Petaluma Marsh, this would directly impinge on that, and the county gave that no credence.
When you look at the Petaluma Marsh and the way you describe it and all of the bird life that is out there and everything, people are just starting to appreciate on the East Coast the Everglades for what it is. And it used to be referred to as a swamp, and I don't think that people really understood what it was. And one time I had occasion driving from Miami to, I think it was Naples, Florida, if I remember the town correctly, but you go on Interstate 4, and there's nothing, you drive over the Everglades for like 75 miles, and it really is a look at an amazing piece of property, and it's starting to be noticed now. Is this area for Petaluma and all of this North Bay, is this starting to become on the radar screen similar to the Everglades?
Quite so. The city, the state, the federal government, a number of agencies, as well as private organizations, including the Land Trust, have recognized the value of this marsh and have put money into purchasing it for public ownership, for public access, for restoration. The city of Petaluma has invested millions of dollars in our northern end of the marsh, to make it a real resource. It's an economic driver. We have a number of businesses and residents who have located along the eastern side of Schollenberger Park because of the visitors, because of the access to a park, because of the access to bird watching, wildlife watching. This is a true economic driver that is in fact not replicable elsewhere in Sonoma County. And why would we want to destroy something that is unique to Petaluma and assume that we're doing economic development? That's absolutely the reverse of economic development. It's economic destruction. And so we have a chance to treasure this, to respect it, to grow that trend, and certainly sticking an asphalt plant with all of its emissions, lights, noise, truck traffic, smells, sticking that on the margin of this park is a crazy idea. It's totally uneconomic. It's totally destructive to Petaluma's future.
You know, the interesting thing is, one of the thoughts that's going around, and I don't know how this plays out in the end, is there's people in the community that are talking about gateway signs welcoming people to Petaluma. And I thought that was interesting because you know, after the deadline, I saw an email. I don't know why they sent me an email. They know my phone number, from the Argus Courier asking for my comments on signs at the gateway to Petaluma. I think a nice sign would be appropriate, and hopefully a service club, because usually it's the service clubs or the local chamber of commerce that provide such signs. That would be wonderful. But right now I'm really more concerned about an asphalt plant with 2 high towers. There's no sign in the world that's going to obliterate the look of that at the gateway to Petaluma. So you could spend a lot of money on a well-intentioned, meaning little sign saying welcome to Petaluma, but these 2 big high towers at the gateway to Petaluma on the entrance to Sonoma County wine country is going to make a statement that's just going to obliterate any feel-good from any sign anywhere. And the Argus maybe would want to do a story on that, in my opinion.
I don't think that experience the charm as a sign hung up on the 2 asphalt twin towers, 70-foot towers, is quite the look that the Chamber of Commerce would like to have. But that's what they've supported. That's what some of the businesses and some of the people in Petaluma have supported. I don't get it. It makes no sense.
Well, I really think it would be nice to put 2 words up on those towers, 1 word on each tower. Mike on one tower and Kearns on the other, because I think that, you know, if you're really for it and you want to own it and it's good for the community, then take ownership of it. And I don't mean in a financial sense. I just mean in, if you want to let everybody know, here's where it is. It was decided on a 3-2 vote. And quite often on controversial projects, the Board of Supervisors has had a pattern in the past of following whichever direction that the local supervisor takes on an issue, because they figure the local supervisor is in touch with their own community, and maybe Supervisor Kearns was in touch with a segment of this community, but not in touch with the people that I heard from, certainly, on this particular issue. So if we want to sign on it, I think that would be an appropriate way to commemorate that particular, you know, project.
The inscrutable charms of Mike Kearns. You know, everybody uses asphalt, and one of the arguments is, well, we need asphalt, so why wouldn't Petaluma want to live with an asphalt plant? And I think part of that is true, and part of that is really a straw man argument. First of all, the environmental review for the project stated that there is already sufficient capacity in Marin and Sonoma County to supply all the asphalt needs, including repaving 101. What this really is an attempt by the Dutra company to infringe on the turf, on the market share held by Bodine and Syar, who already are producing in the county, and have plants here and over in Vallejo that supply all the existing needs, including all the paving that's happening on 101 right now from Petaluma north. Dutra and Bodine and Syar are producing all the asphalt necessary for paving in the Marin County section of the widening of 101. So the facts are very clear that we don't need additional capacity. The plants that exist have unused permitted capacity. Dutra would like to horn in on the market. And so part of what's happening here is really a market move by Dutra. The other is that if we want to have asphalt plants, we know they're toxic, we know they're noxious, we know they're a heavy industrial activity, then there should have been a discussion with the city, with the county, in the setting up of their general plan about where these facilities need to be located that are not in sensitive areas. And that never happened.
So if we want to contribute to fund the citizens-backed lawsuit, because it is volunteers that have put money together, where do they send a check?
Checks can be sent to, actually the easiest way to get the addresses for mailing is go to friendsofschollenberger.org online, or the OWL Foundation, owlfoundation.net, or momsforcleanair.net. And there are locations and links there to either mail checks or contribute by credit card. Or they can contact Petaluma River Council at my phone number at 763-9336, and I'd be happy to talk to you.
This is a negotiation. This is not simply a conversation between Dutra and the Board of Supervisors.
Yes.
This is a negotiation that's going to involve many, many parties, and we will never stop. We will never stop defending Schollenberger Park. We will take it to court.
This will be my shining hour, calm and happy and bright. And every time I go to sleep in my dreams, your face will flower through the darkness of the night, like the lights of home before me, like an angel watching over me. This will be my shining hour till I'm with you again. Still I'm with you again. Doodly-o, doodly-o.